loving and admiring nature. You read, about the humanistic approach, you become more rationalistic. All these things, as and literature is not a single unit. Literature is only formed after, you just note down the various activities, the events which molded the minds of the people, and thereby how it has influenced the society, and how it makes them think on that various line. So I'll what I have prepared, it is just in a nutshell. You know, I had to synchronize everything, and it was really very difficult because I wanted you to know, what happened in England at right from the 5th century till the modern age. Just can imagine, it was a very, the mega task which was given to me, because other teachers, they are all doing, they have selected various things from your syllabus. I am a bit different because I wanted you to have a background knowledge about literature, English literature. We are not concerned with any other literature over here. You're a student of English literature, so you need to know about the geographical situations, where it is situated, and how the language affected, because language is the crux in framing the literature of anything. You have various forms of literature, but here you are in your English honors, you are concerned with English literature. English, and only English. English, that is British English. Your pronunciation also, you'll be trained, gradually, because your syllabus is scientifically and methodically prepared. So I think our head sir, he will be coming to inaugurate the whole thing. This was just, something, uh, uh, side. I just wanted to tell something. But before I begin, I think we have the introduction by our head, that is Professor.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
You are not clearly audible.
now am I audible?
I want to say something, sir.
Please mute your thing. You'll be clear. Am I clear now?
Requested again and again. Otherwise, I will have to remove you. Mrityunjay,
Yes, sir.
mute yourself.
Yes. Actually, sorry, I was online in PhD classes. I became online. So may I start? Wait. Okay, thank you.
Good
Thank you,
morning.
everybody. Thank you. Uh, uh, Being the head of the University Department of English, I have been authorized by the Honorable Vice Chancellor for for this session, for this online classes of undergraduate students, that is English honors students, degree 1 honors students. So, you know, everybody knows that as this COVID-19 has affected the conventional ways of teaching and learning at the same time, it has opened innumerable opportunities and innumerable avenues for teaching and learning. So I remember the saying, when one door closes, another opens. We must learn the ways to convert adversity into opportunity. Once, while addressing the university students, Winston Churchill commented, "The empires of the future are the empires of the mind." He said that in the future, the powerful would not be those that own the land, it would be those that own the ideas. And 21st century is the knowledge century, and the precondition for survival in this knowledge century is willingness to learn and learn. Uh, Everybody knows that as per the direction of the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Surendra Pratap Singh, visionary Vice Chancellor, all the heads of the university departments, although we are engaging online classes for our PG students, PhD students, and in colleges also, teachers are engaging classes online. But it is because of this Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Surendra Pratap Singh, Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dolly Sinha, who has both have been interested in academic fields. So they have persuaded the university heads to conduct online classes for degree 1 honors students. Online classes have been started, and all the students of Ellen Mithila University under its jurisdiction, that is, we have 4 districts: Darbhanga, Madhubani, Samastipur, and Begusarai. So, by the direction of the Vice Chancellor and Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Mustaq Ahmad, who is the Registrar of Ellen Mithila University, has notified the routine that has been sent to him by the head of the Department of English. And I am very much thankful to Dr. Sanket Kumar Jha, who has labored hard and contacted the teachers of English from different colleges. And so I am very much thankful to him because of his hard labor, and a routine was prepared, and that is why today I welcome all the teachers of English working in Ellen Mithila University. So I welcome all the English teachers who are going to engage classes online, and other teachers who have been left, they will also engage classes in the near future. So I welcome, first of all, I welcome Dr. Punita Jha, Professor Punita Jha, who is the Professor of English, University Department of English, Ellen Mithila University. I welcome
Thank you, sir.
the Professor Indira Jha. So Professor Punita Jha will engaged the first introductory class, and then Professor Indira Jha, who is Professor of English of CM College, Darbhanga, for today's two lectures. They have agreed to deliver. Then there are a number of teachers, uh, young teachers who are vibrant, who are very laborious. Dr. Chitra Jha from MRM College, uh, Professor Roop Kala Sinha, who is Professor of English at MRM College, Darbhanga, Professor Indira Jha, I have told you. Then Tanima Kumari from CM College, who is assistant professor there, she has joined in 2017. Then other teachers, uh, Yogeshwar Shah, at present he is at RNAR College, Samastipur. Then Professor Sunita Sinha, who is professor of English at Women's College, Samastipur. Then Vijay Mishra, who is also professor of English at Millat College, Darbhanga. So these teachers, uh, Sambhavi, Dr. Sambhavi from KS College, then Soumya from MRM College. So these teachers will deliver lectures online. So I am grateful to those teachers who are going to engage classes. I just inaugurate this online classes for Degree 1 honors students. Thank you very much. You will cooperate, all the students, dear students, you will cooperate the teachers. You will raise questions to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now,
इंग्लिश बोलिए क्लास में मास्टर जाते
silence.
भरते हो ना
Good morning, all of you. First, I would like to thank our HOD, sir, who, in spite of his busy schedule, also made it a point to inaugurate this centralized mode of lecture series. And coordinator Sanket Kumar, he actually worked very hard, and sir was very much right. So first, I would like to thank you also. And as for the students, I joined in 5 minutes earlier, and I've given my introduction. So I don't need to, and sir has also told you about it. I'm in the University Department of English, as sir told you. And I've constantly been teaching for a long period of time. So, it was very difficult to synchronize, just to give, everything, prepare everything in a nutshell. So I had to, just cut off a lot many things, but I wanted you to know the basic. Since the literature, a history of English literature is the crux of whatever you study ahead in your other classes, in your degree courses, and in your postgraduate level. And then further on, you get vast, your field broadens, and therefore you get good topics for research. So, as in mathematics, the formula is important. So, also history of English literature, it forms the basic formula of who the writer is, the age in which he belongs, the trend of that age, and everything has to be taken. As I told you, history, the historical events, the political, and the setting up of the mind is also how the thought moved around in particular age. And one more basic thing I referred to in my introduction just before the time was the language in which it was communicated. So in order to cater to the needs and to be appreciated, a writer had to change his trend. Actually, he wrote in the trend which was along, but he could not leave out what has already been done. So he is also a great scholar. You just cannot become a writer overhead and win, accolades and awards for your. You can take the example of Amitabh Ghosh, the Indian novelist who's constantly being. So similarly, it was in English literature also. Now, when we are talking about English literature, we need to know certain things about England. What was England in the 5th century? And from 5th to 10th century, what happened? We have, I have actually, divided it so that there is no confusion, because there are a number of texts on history of English literature. You read more and more and you get confused. So you need a very concise knowledge of the various ages, because then only you can follow the work which is being dealt in your from your syllabus, or the work which you select. Okay, and this will lead you ahead, because in your competitive exams also, if your history of English literature, that is your first paper, you are not confident about it, you cannot afford to make a random study. So am I clear now? So this introductory lecture is important in the sense that you get to know, which age that writer, to place the where. So in the process, I've left out many other writers also. They might have been very important, because I had to just cut off, because the galaxy of writers in each and every age, I have included only those writers who are very important, and it will take you ahead as per your syllabus. So now there are basically 8 broad periods in English literature. The first one is, and I've given the date, because this date helps you to just put it under the category, under the age in which it belongs. Because I pointed out that each and every age, the people, their mind set up, the historical events, everything influenced, and then the literature of that age was formed. So we have just grouped it, and please group it not as per the name, but as the date I am mentioning. These dates are taken from that Britannica Encyclopedia, and I was also a student of English honors, so I had to just unearth certain things, just to clarify, because these dates, and then I have just divided it into 8 broad periods or categories, you can say. First is the Old English literature, that is from 450 to 1066. Then, or it is also called the Anglo-Saxon literature. I'm going to go into a bit briefly. I'm going to explain these aspects, but first, let me just name and give the date of all these 8 broad periods. Then is the Middle English literature from 1066 to 1500. We also call this Middle English as medieval literature. The medieval theater also came into this. Then you have this great age of transition, that is the English Renaissance began. There was Renaissance, the flowering of knowledge came, but various different countries, had it in the different ages as per their development. So English Renaissance, we say, that was from 1500 to 1660. A number of things happened during this period. Changes in literature, changes in the historical events, changes in the scientific developments. So gradually, people were becoming more and more aware. Then the Elizabethan period can also be taken into this because it was an age of new learning. So from 1558 to 1603, the Elizabethan period also comes within this gamut. Then the fourth category, that is from 1660 to 1700. That is, I hope you must have done, that is the Restoration Age. So 1558, 1603 to 1660 to 1700, here also, we have a lot of changes in the restoration because King Charles I was restored to the throne. That is why we have that name. I will be doing, in brief, I will just be giving you an introduction. Now coming to the fifth point, that is the 18th century. Okay. So this is also, there were marked developments, I think you must have heard about Gothic novel and the different forms, the epistolary form, the sentimental, the historical, all these things. Here also, I'll tell you a lot. Then you have the golden period of the poetry, that is the Romanticism from 1798 to 1837. So now this is also, this I told you the golden period, and you will be having a number of classes because you have, since it is the golden period in English literature for poetry, your first syllabus is planned, and a number of poems are there. You have the long narratives, and plus you have short poems, and you will be doing Keats, Wordsworth, Coleridge, all these people. Then we have, the Romanticism. I told you 1798 to 1837. Then we have Victorian literature, also called the golden period for fiction, because by now the prose work, and the fiction was in great progress. That is from 1837 to 1901. Okay, so Victorian literature, so we can see, the Victorian, Queen Victoria is associated with that, as the Elizabethan is associated with Queen Elizabeth. That is why I told you history and the important events, their language and their mode of things are also equally important. Okay, then we have the 20th century, that is the modern age. And then, just you from it means from 1901, the 20th century begins till the present age. So now coming to the first point, that is the old English literature, and I hope the date is now, it is there in your mind. That is from 450 to 1066. you know Now, previously, I told you the geographical thing is also very important because, all the seas, and the countries which affected it, because England was not that well established. The England or the we see now and what it was in 450 are two different You form two different views because it was also called the Anglo-Saxon period, and this is not there in your syllabus. But this is the uh, the background I told you is very important to understand the literature of any period. Although it is not important, I just want to introduce this age to just to tell you, how it played, a role in the formation of literature. Now, let me come to the dialects because I'm a language teacher also. And I told you language is the best medium of communicating. The four major dialects of Old English language, that is the Northumbrian in northern England, Mercian in central England, Kentish in southeastern England, and Saxon. I told you the Anglo-Saxons, they ruled for a long period of time in southwest England. Mercian and Northumbrian uh, means it can be classed as the Anglian dialects. So, we take all these things. These two dialects, they stayed, and it can be said that these Anglian dialects were there. It was spoken among the people. And the other main dialect was the West Saxon dialect. Now the Saxons and the Jutes, they were there. I told you they were ruling it. So naturally they dominated. Then a period will come when France, the domination of France. And France was quite developed in the Western world. So the major influence of France and the French people, it affected the people because a lot many things you must have done. You in your offline classes, you I don't think you have done, or if you have done it, you must be knowing, the borrowing. Certain words were borrowed because any link, the formation of any language, there are a number of things borrowed. So the borrowing point in India also, we have a number, what Hindi we speak now and what we spoke earlier are two different things because now English words have mingled in with the language. Similarly, a number of words with various origins have mixed with English language, and thereby in literature you will coming across, the Greek influence, the French influence, the Scandinavian influences. These three were the major influences which are there in the language and helped in the formation of that particular language, that is English. But gradually, as the ages passed on by, English became more simpler and simpler. And this is the reason. This is the language which is constantly being, utilized for our
For our
so am I clear now? I know there's an echo. I was disturbed twice. That is my others. Others, please keep yourself mute. So the Anglian dialect and the Anglo-Saxon dialect dominated the Old English literature. The first great period of literary activity occurred during the reign of King Alfred the Great in the 9th BC. Old English literature or Anglo-Saxon literature from 7th century to the decades after Norman conquest of 1066 and encompasses literature. What does it basically consist of? On the lives of the saints. Naturally, this was an age when their religion was not fixed. So the sermons, the biblical translations, the translated works of the early church fathers, they wanted to propagate Christianity, and they wanted the people to understand what is in their scriptures. That is how, the and later on, a law, far ahead, you have the miracle morality plays also. So a lot was done to infuse these religious views among the people. So these translated works were there. It was translated in language. It was made easy for the people. So we have literature basically, of that kind. So the translated works of the narrative, historical works, and chronicles, Beowulf, which often begins the traditional canon of English literature. Beowulf is there, you'll be coming across. This is just for your knowledge. This is the most famous work of the English literature. In addition to the Old English literature, the Anglo-Saxon wrote a number of Anglo-Latin works, the Latinized form. So you see, how everything, in the process, it is the language is developing in order to make it more communicable to the people, to their people, the people of England. Now let me come, this was just in brief, I've told you I've left out so many things because if I continue, I will not be able to follow. The second period, the Middle English or the medieval period. After the Norman conquest, many Anglo Saxon nobles were dispossessed and a new French speaking Anglo Norman, we call it technically, but then we see how, because France had also, and they wanted it to bring England under their domain. Thereby, the people were there, the mixing of the people, and thereby the change in the language and dialect. Side by side literature, I'm just helping you because, as I pointed out earlier, also that uh, certain, the ways, the behavior, what the people think, how they behave. And France was the most developed and cultured, their aristocratic form of living, a number of words, and they were educated as well because they had strong command over the language. And it is a small country. It is the neighboring country of we have Wales also, we have Scotland, we have Denmark, all these countries. So that is why the people came in from there, and that is how they moved. They tried to conquer and they
And
tried to
they try
dominate.
to talk.
Others here
Others,
constantly. So now we have the French speaking aristocracy, they came to power. Of course, these cultural shifts did not occur in all places overnight. I told you, literature is not a product of an overnight or the overnight changes. It is the product of the gradual changes, and thereby the development was possible. The older fashion, such as Germanic and heroic literature, fell into disuse. I told you that the Germanic from the heroic literature, that was basically in the Old English, talking about the great saints, the fathers, that was basically the purpose was to propagate their religion. Many authors wrote in French because it was the language of the court. There were great number of lyrics and ballads between 1347 and 1350. A plague more, it was also, affected by the Black Death, as we have Corona, commonly called the Black Death, ravaged the whole of Europe and a number of people died. Two most famous poets emerged. They were Geoffrey Chaucer and John Grover. Chaucer, do you have heard? Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales also in future you'll be doing it. and Grover's Confessio Amantis. These two works, they have tried to bring in a change in the literary trend. Each is a collection of tales united by a framed narrative. So that narrative technique came in the form of short stories. We always claim that short stories, is the production of the 21st century. No, earlier also we had stories, fables, and all, and it was presented in the poetical form. That was the greatness of Geoffrey Chaucer, depicting, in a very realistic manner, depicting, or just bringing out, what the people thought, how they behaved, what was their culture. So, a number of times we say that Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is a picture gallery. He has framed it in a very creative manner, that is in the form of stories. Various pilgrims, they're on their way to. So here, see, we have religion, we have their culture, we have the way the people used to think, and we also come to know about how the people behaved in the second period, that is in the Middle Ages. Courtly love was a literary trend, as in Troilus and Cressida, which adapts the story of the fall of Troy. Authors like, I've just named a few, John Lydgate, Thomas Hoccliffe, and John Skelton, helped solidify Chaucer's position as, we all know Chaucer as the father of English poetry. It is not that before that poetry was not written, but it was not written in the form as it we read it today.
Ah,
So John Wycliffe promoted the translation. Wycliffe also has an important role to play in the Middle English. John Wycliffe promoted the translation of the religious scriptures into plain English, the English that time. Okay, what we are reading today, what we are reading in the various journals of literature is different from what when you just take up, Chaucer's work. You must have been acquainted, or you must, if you are interested, if you read it, you will find the marked changes. We have to translate it into modern English. The writings of William Langland also vividly portray the spiritual concerns of the day. His famous work is the Pious the Plowman, which is it is this is also is an extended series of allegorical dream vision. I'm mentioning only those points because how different, techniques, were invented, and how it was put in by which writer is equally important when you know what happened during that period, 50 years, 100 years of their thing. So, series of allegorical dream vision in which the narrator goes on a spiritual journey. Here also see, you know, spreading their religion was also one of the intention of the writers. Allegorical dream vision in which the narrator goes on a spiritual journey to find truth. Along with the courtly love came the continental genre of romance. So there was romance, something, which should capture the minds of the people. So love was also there. Promotion of religion was also there. And how it was presented in which form? The allegorical form. And the writer had to visualize, what would happen in future. So we don't only have William Blake, the visionary poet in the Romantics. Maybe William Blake had read the poems of Langland. This was a type of narrative which focused on the knight's adventure, his quest in the service of ladies. In 1455, after the inventing press, a drastic change came in because whatever the writers wrote, it was made available to the, and it was made affordable to the common people as well. Previously, whatever the writer wrote, it was not circulated. Today, just because of the press, the printing press, we are able to have a number of books. So means the reading thing, it was there among all the people. Thereby, it was appreciated by a large number of readers. So, when did from when do we have here? Just see the scientific developments, the invention of the press, and how the readers, because unless you don't, because those days traveling was not that easy. You read what is happening in your country, you communicate what happened in the northern region, what happened in the southern region, east, west, and all that in your country itself. And then people gradually learned how to travel. So, press is one of the most important machinery in promoting the views of the intellectuals and scholars. Because then only if you write something, you can get it printed. And naturally, education is the crux of everything. Then it and the famous it became, English became the language of prestige if you're speaking. So previously it was French. See how it changed. As the French left, English became the language of prestige. If you know English, you are honored. Otherwise, you belong to the country. That same thing is applicable even in India. And next, the next writer whom I would mention is Thomas Thomas Mallory. His work, Morte the Author, was the earliest, was the most earliest, or we can say the first printed work. And that I told you, it is the story of the knighthood, courtly love, and all those things. So remember, Thomas Mallory's Morte the Author also. Arthur it is. This period, naturally, I told you the press, how it affected the minds, it molded the minds of the people. So this period saw a resurgence in the popularity of English drama also, the morality and the mystery play. These topics will be dealt, so I'm not going deep into it. The York cycle also is there. And then some major themes of the medieval literature were the lives of saints, religious, the moral values and ethics as applied in everyday life. See, how people were being educated because now things were circulated all around. Then ancient classical history also, these were translated and made available to the readers. Then the prayer and meditations and the code of cavalry and the courtly manners. All this, was just communicated through the various printed texts. Now we are coming to one of the major trends. Can you guess what will it be? The English Renaissance. What do you mean by Renaissance?
Reformation.
What?
Rebirth, ma'am.
Reformation.
Okay, these words are there. But actually, in simple, creative way, please mute yourself. In a simple way, we can say that it was the flowering of knowledge. Gradually, the developments, was developments, all sided developments. And Renaissance of different places. Like in France, we had it at another time. In India, we had it at another time. And in England, we had it in another time. As the scientific developments and the way of the people, what they thought changed, you know, they became more knowledgeable. And for this, the backbone was the invention of the printing press. More and more people read more and more, they thought more and more, and new innovations and techniques were applied. So that was English Renaissance, we say, is from 1550 to 1660 on. And how it affected. Once you become knowledge, naturally you influence, you have learned from what has happened in the past and what should be done in future. Therefore, experimentations and new innovations were in progress within 1550 to 1660. So that is English literature. Now coming to the point of literature. This literature is characterized by the adaptation of humanistic. Human beings should become human beings. And as I referred, that medieval literature, it was something, it infused the moral values and ethics. So people read those works and gradually they realized that one of the best thing was, your behavior. In order to maintain your prestige, you have to have a humanistic approach towards life, love for one another. So thereby, it was this literature was characterized. I repeat it because each and every age's literature has certain characteristic features. The literature is characterized by the adoption of a humanist philosophy and the recovery of classical literature of antiquity. It benefited from the spread of, the beneficially or the experimentation was possible just because, again, I'm repeating, because of the printing press. In the latter half of the 15th century, the reader appreciated writing that adhered to the well known convention of favorite literary genres such as sonnet, pastorals, all these things. Naturally, if you're more philosophical, if you show your concern towards one another, if you start loving one another, all these things, and then if you mourn, something, if you admire nature, so pastorals, in the form of, because that was an age, for good development, the farmers were there, the cowherds were there, so the pastoral form of poetry developed. And also we have the revenge tragedy. It can be stated that England Renaissance was a cultural and artistic movement dating from the late 15th to the early 17th century. The reign of Queen Elizabeth I also began in 1558 and ended in her death with 1603. So the Elizabethan age, I know I've just tried to unify things in order to make it more concise and intelligible for you. She was succeeded by the Stuart King, James James VI of Scotland, who took the title James I of England as well. From 1603 to 1625 is called the Jacobian Era also. It was an age of intellectual and revolution. So, Renaissance, if anybody asks you to define it in Renaissance, so it was an age of revolution. I think one of the students told me also, that new things it was. So intellectual and religious revolution. Some major writers like John Milton, Francis Bacon also were there. Now coming to Elizabethan poetry, this topic will also be dealt, but I'm just giving you all these things. I told you new techniques, trends. So in the various genres, it was tried. So Elizabethan poetry and also the prosaic form and prose burst in sudden glory in the late 1570s. A decisive shift of taste towards a fluent artistry, self consciously displaying its own grace and sophistication, was announced in the works of Spenser and Sidney. Virtually every Elizabethan poet tried his hand at the lyric. Fine examples are in the plays of Johnson, John Lilly, George Peele, Thomas Nash, and Thomas Dekker. Though all, of course, are, they outshone. They were all outshone by one greatest genius, that was William Shakespeare. Here we are not talking about, here actually we are concerned with the developments, the Elizabethan sonnet and sonnet. I think it's prescribed in your uh, syllabus also, the lyricists and the sonneteers also. And you have Shakespeare's sonnet prescribed in your second paper as well. The publication of Sydney's Astrophel and Stella in 1591 generated an extraordinary work for sonnet sequence. So that was what I was coming up to. So here I took William Shakespeare, why he outshone all these people. That was in the because he introduced certain forms which you will be doing when it is taught to you. Shakespeare's sonnet, published sequence 1609, presented a different world altogether. In the Elizabethan and early Stuart period, the theatre was the focal point. Now, coming to the theatre also, here also we know how Shakespeare outshone all the other things. He was a huge tree, and anybody who tried to just grow under this huge tree, it could not survive. So he dominated that of the age. Theatres were set up, professional means professional playwrights. We are just forming the ground where Shakespeare, is there. And then professionals were also trained. So that is in England collectively, we have the collective, group of trained dramatists. They were called the university wits. Outshining others, the most prominent name among the university wits was Christopher Marlowe. I'm just racing because I'm finding that time is running out. So little bit, here I wanted to speak something about the metaphysical poets. Also, John Donne was there. So everything, I've tried to fuse in just to make things clear for you. Writers, they responded in different ways in poetry. The three main traditions may be broadly distinguished, which have been coupled by the names of Spenser, Johnson, and John Donne. So, as we speak of metaphysical poetry, all these things, Donne heads the tradition that 18th century critic labeled for all as the metaphysicals. John Donne is one of us, after Chaucer, I feel John Donne is one of the basic. Milton is there, everybody is there. But then, we have all these great poets, who influenced English literature. The fourth major period, somebody was telling me, the restoration, it is the restoration, and it was the restoration of Charles II. Marks a complete breakup with the past, means that is, with the that Puritanism is also there. The rise of neoclassicism, imitation of ancient masters, then imitation of French masters also, because they also created a very strong impression, and correctness and appropriateness and realism and formalism. These were the basic, components of what, the Restoration literature comprises of. The main characteristic of this age are satire, and which are, and the heroic couplet form came into being. You must have read Dryden's satire, Pope also. Okay, the main characters of this characteristic feature of this age are satire, and it was in the form in a heroic couplet. A change in social lifestyle has also been noticed. Restoration of monarchy and rejection of Puritanism. Restoration comes from the crowning of Charles II. I've already talked. In 1660, theaters were reopened. 1607, John Milton, the great mega, epic, I was naming and then I kept quiet because he should be introduced in the right phase of the period. John Milton publishes Paradise Lost in, it was in 1672. Then John Dryden publishes Marriage à la Mode 1675. And then William Wycherley immediately publishes The Country Wife in 1677. Afra Ben also published, the Rover. The Rover. That was also a comedy of manners, was also popular in this period. And an age of it. This was basically an age of devaluation of individual sentiments and psychology in favor of public utterance and philosophy. I want to clear. I'm just concluding over it. Okay, Sanket, please, just a few more minutes. Sorry, I could not come, to the main portion, and I think the other teachers will also take up, uh, after the rover and all that. I wanted to come to the Romanticism, the Victorian, and then to the modern. Just a few more sentences, how the changes just came in. The Romantic age is also very important, and it will be dealt by a number of teachers in the near future. So I need not go deep into it. And I have left out, one phase also, that is the 18th century, the fifth phase. After Restoration comes the 18th century, and little bit I'd given you. And then Romanticism, that is from 1798 to 1837. The views changed. The literature was also affected, and we have great poets. This was the golden period of poetry. We have Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Byron, all these great writers. Even in Victorian literature, that is from 1837 to 19. I'm not going deep into it because we have the visionary poet also in the Romantic, the William Blake. So all these, we have Scottish poets also. So love, imagination, fancy, all these things were there. Next, the Victorian literature also, the realistic views, the humanistic approach to life, philosophical, they became more rational, and thereby, we have the psychological poems of Robert Browning, Arnold Tennyson, all these great writers, Hopkins, all these people were there. And then we come to the modern. it is the T.S. Eliot. Finally, the amalgam of all the trends which were there, because tradition cannot be left out, and the literature which we are reading in the 20th century. The best example is T.S. Eliot's Wasteland. So, as I was asked, I've just hurried over it. I've given you the background knowledge, and I hope I was quite intelligible. And something has just, I've tried to infuse uh, whatever is it in a nutshell, and in the process, I have left out a number of things. And in future, if I get another opportunity, I would like to continue from the fifth level, that is the 18th century, the Romantic, Victorian, and 20th. So thank you, Sanket. Okay.
Thank you,
Good
ma'am.
morning.
Morning.
Welcome, Ravi. I had to hurry because you had to take your next class.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Sanket. First of all, let me introduce myself. I am Professor Indira Jha from CM College, Darbhanga. And today, I really feel great that I'm getting a larger audience. Is number of students of Ellen Mitla University of Degree 1 English Honors all are today with us. First of all, I would like to thank University Head of the Department, Professor A.K. Bachchan, for in not only giving a wonderful introduction for these online classes, rather he welcomed all of us and welcomed you all. We all are facing a very odd time in this corona time, and online classes are the only solution. Many times the teachers have been saying, I need not repeat, but Professor Sanket Jha has been our student. We have taught him, and we feel very proud to see him coordinating the entire show. I'm sure it is not a very easy task. So many teachers, and put them on the panel and arrange this class up to 12th of July. He has made a schedule up to 12th of July. It's great. Thank you, and all my blessings for Sanket. Now, without wasting much time, let us start the class. The class which I have been assigned is about John Keats and his famous poem, The Eve of St. Agnes. This particular poem is, in fact, I'm sure many of my students of CM College may be here in the class. For them, this class will be a revision class because CM College, Darbhanga students are having their Degree 1 English Honours classes since the month of January. So quite a bit of syllabus has been already covered with them. But since this is a new class in the sense that the students from other colleges are here also, so I would like to start from the beginning. I'm sure the students of CM College will take it as the revision class, and they will also try to learn and revise what they have learned already. In this particular class, I'll be teaching you from stanza 1 to stanza 8 of the Eve of St. Agnes. And consecutive 5 days I have classes with you to complete the full poem. So in order to complete the full poem, I have been assigned 5 classes, so I'll try my level best to complete what I have been assigned. So the Eve of St. Agnes, the first thing which I would like to let you know that this poem has the theme of love and death both. I'm reminded of my own PhD work. My own thesis is on treatment of love and death in the poetry of John Keats. John Keats, all of you know, died very young. He couldn't enjoy his love life. So he tried to enjoy his love life through his poetry, through his poems, through the words which he put on the paper. The love which he could not really get in his real life because he died at the age of 25 only out of tuberculosis. So, he lives his love life through his poetry. So this particular poem, The Eve of St. Agnes, which I am going to introduce today, has the theme of love and death both. Now, as the name, first of all, let us look at the title, The Eve of St. Agnes. The eve, we should look at the word the eve. It is the previous day of the St. Agnes's Day. It is January 28th. And you will also notice that the title, who is this St. Agnes? The St. Agnes is a Roman virgin who had to suffer martyrdom, who died very young. She was a virgin woman. She died very young under the period of Diocletian, and then after her death, her parents could see her in the vision with the angel. She was a very sacred woman, and ultimately she was accorded sainthood, and she became Saint Agnes. And a medieval belief goes with Saint Agnes, which I would discuss with you later. So first of all, we look at the title. Why Saint Agnes has been chosen? Because she was a virgin girl who died very young. She suffered martyrdom, and she was a very sacred woman, and she was accorded sainthood. So the title is Eve of Saint Agnes. This particular day has to do lots with spirituality and also has lots to do with festivity. So John Keats has mixed festivity and spirituality together in this particular poem. Before I come to the poem, I need to talk about the background a little bit. It's in my mind. I have to complete up to stanza 8. I'll start from 1st to 8. So prior to that, what are the characteristics? What are the elements which we see in this particular poem? First, it has the story of adventure. It has grandeur. It has chivalry. It has romance. The poem thrives medievalism. Sensuousness is at peak in this poem. Now, I'm just talking the terms. I need to explain what is sensuousness, what is medievalism, what is narrative, what is romantic. But first, you need to catch the key words. The key words are, it's a beautiful narrative poem. It's a beautiful romantic poem. It's a beautiful love poem. It's a beautiful medieval poem. It's a beautiful, sensuous poem. So these terms you need to keep in your mind while studying this particular poem. Now, when you have known about these elements, after that, we have to see what kind of style did John Keats use in writing this poem. The poem, The Eve of St. Agnes, what is the style? What kind of stanza has he written in this poem? So he has used Spenserian stanza. What is this Spenserian stanza he has used in this poem? And why do you think he has used this stanza in this poem? This also we need to keep in our mind. Spenserian stanza was introduced by Edmund Spenser, and the poem Fairy Queen, when he wrote in 1590, he had introduced this Spenserian stanza. This Spenserian stanza means that it has 9 lines, which I told you, and 8 lines are in iambic pentameter, and last line is an alexandrine in iambic hexameter. I won't go into the detail about the meters, that will be later, but 9 lines, and it has got a rhyming scheme. What is the rhyming scheme of this Spenserian stanza, which you will find throughout the poem? Starting from the first stanza to the second stanza, the same rhyming scheme has been used by the poet. This is the Spenserian stanza. Very good. I find one student writing what is rhyming scheme and also knows about how it rhymes. It is A, B, A, B, B, A, B, C, C. Very well. One student's comment in the comment box I could read. Good. Then, knowing this, that it is written in Spenserian stanza, and the story is based on an orthodox belief. It has an orthodox belief. Now I will talk about that. Prior to that, I will let you know one more important thing about it. That what is the period? Because time and again I'm talking the word Middle Ages, medievalism. What is it? Which age is considered the Middle Age? It is 1100 to 1500 AD. This period is Middle Age. Now the superstition, the belief of that period, that time, has been used in 19th century by our poet, John Keats. He uses this period. Why do you think how this Middle Ages superstition will suit this romantic poem? Now, that we have to know first what is the belief and why does Keats use this in his poem, The Eve of St. Agnes. So first of all, we will talk about the belief. Because we cannot start. Why spirituality and chivalry? Why spirituality? And love. Why spirituality and festivity have been mixed together, have been combined together? Because that is the basic element in the poem. So the belief goes like this. It was a belief in 14th century, in the Middle Ages, medieval period. The belief was that if a young virgin maiden does certain kind of rituals, and if the rituals are done very religiously, in a proper manner, then at midnight, she will get the glimpse of her future husband in her dream. So this was the belief. Well, see, whenever I talk of this belief, our Eastern culture also comes to my mind. There are so many beliefs that the young girls are supposed to perform and do to get a good husband. वो कहते हैं कि सावन में सोमवारी करती हैं लड़कियां. They keep fast on Mondays. Why? Because That is the day of Lord Shiva, and they will be blessed by God and get a nice husband. Now this particular story has same kind of superstitious belief. You will notice while reading the poem, when we will move to the poem, we will notice the main heroine, the heroine of the poem, Madeline, 100% believes in this belief. Now why? Why does she have to believe this? She has to believe this because the person with whom she has fallen in love with is from a hostile family. Both the families are at daggers drawn. They are great enemies. And Madeline will never be allowed to unite with Porfido because both the families are great enemies. And since Madeline is in love with Porfido, so she seeks the help of supernatural. She seeks the help of Saint Agnes. She seeks the help of superpower because this world will not allow them to unite, be together. So that is why this particular belief has been used in this poem. When nothing works in the world, some miracles need to take place. So keeping these in background, we have to see what Keats talk about in the first 8 stanzas. We will focus on first 8 stanzas only today because tomorrow again from stanza 9 we will move to another 8 stanzas. So let us first see what do we get into 8 stanzas. Well, before I move to the text, I need to let you know again that when we read a poem, what are the things we need to keep in our mind? Because we will go to the text, we'll move to the text. You know, we need to pay full attention because the words on the page are more important, and especially for the Degree 1 English Honours students. You know, you need not much go into who said what about the poem. You should focus and concentrate on the words on the page. What does the poet say? What is the style of the poem? What are the figures of speech is used in the poem? And now this particular poem, when I teach, I have realized that the punctuation marks are, very, very eloquent in this poem. The punctuation marks speaks in the poem. So while reading the poem, you need to say when the speech is when there is direct speech, when there is indirect speech, who is talking, how one is talking, about whom one is talking. All these have been shown through the punctuation marks. So punctuation marks are also very vital in this poem. Having said this, as the things will come to my mind, I'll keep talking about you because we have nice 5 days classes together. Now, before I move to the text, so what are the things I want you to focus upon? I want to focus upon the background of the poem. The background of the poem is that it is of the medieval age. It is a narrative poem. Narrative poem is what? Narrative poem has a story in it. It has got a story element. And this Spenserian stanza has helped John Keats in telling a story. The story, there is not much story element in it, but the way the poet talks about the castle, the windows, about the characters, about their inner emotions, feelings, those are fantastic. So let's now move to the poem and see what do we get in the first 8 stanzas. The Eve of Saint Agnes. So the title is again and again to be kept in mind. In the class, normally, or in my first class, I used to ask my students that Agnes, is it a male name or a female name? So I've already introduced and told you that she was a virgin woman. So Saint Agnes she got the sainthood. She's a female. Now what I will do is I will recite the lines and give you the gist of it, and then we will critically summarize the whole thing. Saint Agnes's Eve. Ah, bitter chill it was. The owl, for all his feathers, was a cold. The hare limped trembling through the frozen grass, and silent was the flock in woolly fold. Numb were the beadsman's fingers while he told his rosary, and while his frosted breath, like pious incense from a censer rolled, seemed taking flight for heaven without a death, past the sweet Virgin's picture while his prayer he said. So in the very first stanza, we are introduced to a very ancient old man, that is the beadsman. The beadsman on the beads says prayers for himself and for others. He is paid for saying the prayers. He is hired for saying the prayers for the sinners. The sinners hire him to say prayers on their behalf. So on this particular terrible cold day, why do you think Keats chose a cold day? Why does he give the description of a cold day in his poem? Because he wants to talk about the love, the warmth of love, the warmth of divinity. So since he wants to talk about the love and warmth, the outer atmosphere is chilly cold, terrible cold. And on this day, it is bitter chill. It is it is biting cold. And on this biting cold, the birds, the animals, all are, feeling that terrible cold, and they are silently in their places. Imagine, and if you can remember, I had used the word sensuousness with John Keats. He's a sensuous poet. We have 5 senses, and all those 5 senses we find operating in this poem. Now, in this particular stanza, the first opening stanza, your sense of touch, you will find is operating. Now, sense of touch, the hare, while jumping on the frozen grass, is limping, is feeling the terrible cold, cannot properly even jump. Why? Because it is so cold. The grass has frozen. So you can imagine with one word that it has got frozen grass. All the sheep, they are silently, under that furry coat, in their folds, in their own staying places, they are quietly sitting. And this particular beadsman, what is he doing? He is saying the prayers in the chapel. He is praying. And while praying, see what is happening. Look at this picture. Keats is like a painter. When you read his lines, you can paint the stanzas on the canvas. So picturesque the lines are. So picturesque the lines are. Now, when I say that the description is very picturesque, we will notice that Keats, when he's talking about the beadsman's work, as I have told you, he's a spiritual man, he's a holy man, he's a divine man. His work is to say prayers. His days are numbered. He's already a death material. He may die any day. So what happens is, this particular beadsman, while saying his prayer, when the breath is coming out from his mouth, when he's breathing out, that breath also is taking flight to the heaven. And and Mother Mary's, Virgin Mary's picture, before the picture of Mother Mary, he's sitting and offering his prayers on his beads, on his, and while saying his prayer, what is happening is, it appears as if without death, only without dying, he has started his upward journey. He's going to heaven without death. So that particular incense, so it is being compared with the incense. You know, when you light your incense sticks in your worshipping room, what happens? We see the smoke coming out. Similarly, it is so cold that his breath is also getting frozen. It is, we can feel the journey of the breath, and the journey of the breath, it appears as if he is, and it is a beautiful image, simile used here, like pious incense from a censer old. Mano धूप जल रहा हो, कहाँ पे? This incense is burning like that particular pious incense stick. It is, and the smoke is going upward. It is. We should know the smokes always travel upward, and it appears. It's a beautiful imagination of John Keats that this man. I have already told you he's an old man, and you will find him dying in the end of the poem. So it appears without death also, he is as if he's dying through his prayers, through his breath. And this is one. So it's a beautiful picture also. Your sense of sight also works here. When you see those incense burning. But his fingers are numb. Because of it. Why his fingers are numb? Because of the terrible coldness. It is so cold that while saying the rosary, the rest of his body, everything is covered with his cassock he's wearing, but his fingers are naked. So while saying the prayer on the rosary, he doesn't feel the sensation. It has become numb. So the first stanza gives us a detailed description of terrible cold. It is a beautiful descriptive poem. And the description we see here in this poem is of terrible cold, of beadsman's prayers. We see the owl, we see the sheep, we see the hare limping. So outer nature, inside chapel, everywhere the terrible cold is being sensed and felt. Now, after the first stanza, see, some of you are writing to repeat it. I will repeat only when I complete it. You need to pay attention. I'm going very slow with the description. So please don't write this to repeat just now. Let me complete first. Because, this particular poem, one beauty is that the one stanza is so well connected with the next stanza. While explaining the next stanza, you will find me repeating the previous stanza also. So you need to have little patience and please pay full attention to what is being described and told. The last line of the first stanza we saw, past the sweet virgin's picture while his prayer he saith. So while he is saying his prayer, you find the words like saith, S-A-I-T-H. The modern English will have said. So purposely old English has been used, it is said. His prayer he said. See how the last line is connected with the first line of the next stanza. His prayer he said, this patient holy man then takes his lamp and riseth from his knees and back returneth, meager, barefoot, wan, along the chapel aisle by slow degrees. The sculptured dead on each side seem to freeze, imprisoned in black purgatorial rails. Knights, ladies, praying in dumb oratories, he passeth by. and his weak spirit fails to think how they may ache in icy hoods and mails. Look at the punctuation marks used in this stanza. Same was in the previous stanza too. So he is saying his prayer. He continues with the prayer. The beadsman is offering his prayer. He has no other job to do, so he's very patient. He's patient, he is holy. And once he realizes that he has finished his prayer, he takes up the lamp and gets up. He is sitting on his knees and praying. I tell you, it is so dramatic. It won't be out of place to quote here to tell you that 3 years back, the students of Degree 1 English Honours of CM College, Darbhanga, had acted out this poem. They put this poem on the stage. So beautifully, this poem was enacted. So it is highly dramatic. You get a cinematographic effect in this poem. So this man gets up with his lamp in his hand. And then he returns. And what does he do? He's a very weak, barefoot. Obviously, he's in the chapel, so he's barefoot and very weak. And along the aisle of the chapel, he walks very slowly. Don't you think this can be acted out very nicely? This old man is slowly walking by slow degrees. Very slowly he walks. And while walking, he notices on the sides of the chapel wall, the sculptured dead on each side seem to freeze. In the black railing, there are the sculptures of knights and ladies and barons are all placed in like statues on the walls. And they all are in black purgatorial rails, as if they are waiting for their souls to be released. They are waiting for their salvation in that chapel. So he sees all those sculptures on the wall. And while seeing those sculptures of knights and ladies, the statues of knights and ladies, they all are praying in their dumb oratories. We know the statues can't talk, the sculptures can't talk, so they are dumb, but they are offering their prayers. They are also praying for their salvation. So he is passing them, because he's walking and one after other, he is passing each and every sculptures. And but his heart thinks, oh God, oh my God, how they may be feeling, how they may be aching, how they may be feeling the pain of the coldness, of the icy hoods and mails. All the statues, the ladies have got the hoods on their heads, they have head covers, and the males have got their armors, their head covering. So the beadsman imagines that all these sculptures are also must be feeling terrible cold, but is unable to feel the amount of coldness. What kind of coldness are they feeling? But he knows one thing, that they all must be also feeling cold. So in both the stanzas, John Keats is trying to, hit one point. He's trying to tell us that it's a terrible cold night. And on this terrible cold night, he is building a love story. He's going to introduce the main characters. So first, in that spiritual environment, he's creating a beautiful spiritual, divine environment of the chapel, of prayers, offered by the beadsman, offered by the sculptures in the chapel, and then gradually we will move to the main characters. So we know that beadsman is not a major character of the poem. Yet the poem starts with him to set the background. He's creating the background for the main characters. It's a very kinetic kind of poem. You will find the characters are moving, the lines are moving, the activities are happening, very happening poem. Now, after this, what happens to this beadsman? First, now he tries to imagine what kind of coldness these knights and ladies are feeling in their hoods and in their armors, in their headgear, etc. After that, he turneth northward. He then turns to north side. So let me read this stanza and you will see he's walking. So how observant the poet is. He doesn't miss the minutest detail. Why? Because this is how he makes his poem very real. You will feel that everything is happening before your eyes. He has made the poem so real, so graphic, so vivid, so picturesque, so sensuous that you can feel through it. So northward he returneth through a little door, and scarce 3 steps, music's golden tongue, flattered to tears this aged man and poor. But no, already had his death bell rung. The joys of all his life were said and sung. His was harsh penance on St. Agnes's eve. Another way he went, and soon among rough ashes sat he, for his soul's reprieve, and all night kept awake for sinners' sake to grieve. So the same theme keeps running, same prayer keeps, Beatsman is still continuing with his prayers. So what he did, after imagining the coldness felt by the knights and ladies who are sculptures now, he returns north side, northward he turneth, he turns northward, and he finds a little door. There is a little door. Through a little door, hardly 3 steps he has walked and he can get the music. Loud music is being played in the adjacent hall. The music's golden tongue flattered to tears this aged man and poor. This old aged man listens to the music. He's not a worldly man. He's a spiritual man. But the music tries to attract him, tries to flatter him, tries to bring him, the music is so attractive. But immediately he realized, no. I'm not supposed to listen to the music. The music is not meant for me. My only job is to offer prayers for myself, for self, and for others. My death bell has already rung. Any time, any day, any moment I can die. So why should I return to the world and start listening to the music? This is not my cup of tea. No, I'm not going back and listening to the music. I should only offer prayers. Why? Because the joys of all his life were said and sung. He's done with it. He's done with his life. All the joys of life, all the enjoyment of life is over with him. He has finished all the worldly songs of life. Now his work is, what is his job now? His job now is to offer harsh penance. Very tough kind of penance he's supposed to do. He's only supposed to offer prayers. And soon among rough ashes sat he. Again he came back and sat among the rough ashes because the incense were burning. See how well poet is connecting the previous stanza. Because the incense was burning, the incense sticks were burning, so there is a lot of rough ashes, and he comes and sits again among those ashes. And he starts again praying for his own soul's reprieve, and all the night kept awake. The whole night he was supposed to be awake. And also offered prayers for the sinner's sake. Remember, I had told you his job is not only to offer prayers for himself, his job is also to offer prayers for others. उसको सिर्फ अपने लिए नहीं जप करना है, for others also. He's supposed to pray for others also. So that is what he is doing. So the first three stanzas we have noticed, it is the beatsman, the activities of beatsman in the chapel. Little bit of music he heard from the adjacent hall, but he returned to his own job, and his work was to offer prayers. Thereafter, he moved to stanza. That ancient beatsman heard the prelude soft, and so it chanced, for many a door was wide from hurry to and fro. Look at the full stop here. You should notice the full stop in the middle of the sentence. From hurry to and fro. You know how beautifully Keats changes the scene. If it is enacted, if it is shown on the stage, it has to be done through the curtains and other equipment. But here in the poem, a full stop tells you that the job of the beatsman is over. Yeah, I find a student writing that they would prefer if I talk in Hindi in between. I avoid. I purposely do because I have done it because this is an online class just to, make you alert. Sometimes I have used it. So I'm trying to speak very simple English so that you understand. And you can give me your feedback later, then I will know that what you want. Actually, I know my own students of CM College, but I don't know everybody. Yet, I'm trying to cater to all with being as simple as possible. So, you love when I talk Hindi, but unfortunately, I can't do that. You all are the student of English literature, English honors, and you are supposed to know the language. Anyway, so from hurry to and fro, full stop, I said. Soon, up aloft, the silver snarling trumpets began to chide. The level chambers, ready with their pride, were glowing to receive 1,000 guests. The carved angels, ever eager-eyed, stared whereupon their heads the cornice rests, with their hair blown back and wings put crosswise on their breasts. Some students write, I'm not audible. Is it true with everybody I'm not audible, or that student is having the problem with his internet? One or two can mute and let me know if I'm being heard. Hope my exercise is not.
Yes,
Okay, nice. Thank you. Don't have Yes, all right. One or two can do it. Not everybody. Thank you so much. Now let's move. So what happened to the beatsman? This ancient beatsman, you look at the adjectives he uses for the beatsman. He is old, he is wan, he is meager, he is ancient, he is a death material. So this ancient beatsman heard the prelude soft. I tell you, I admire this poem so much because the way Keats has made it dramatic. Now the music which was so loud in the previous stanza becomes very soft. Why it was loud and why it is soft now? It was loud because the door was open of the hall, so the music traveled fast to the beatsman. Now the door is closed. Once the door is closed, the music becomes soft. Now, so the prelude got soft. The music became soft. Why it was loud? Because for many a door was wide to and fro. People were hurriedly coming and going into that hall. They were preparing the hall for 1,000 guests to come for the merriment, enjoyment, festivity of St. Agnes's Day. This day is, like Christmas. Christmas in Western countries have both. They offer mass, they offer prayers, and also they enjoy a lot. They have cake cutting, they have a lot of festivity, new dresses, enjoyment, etc. So this St. Agnes's Eve also has the festivity and the prayers, both are mixed together. So in the chapel, prayer is going on, and in the hall, the preparation is going on for 1,000 guests to come for feasting, for enjoying, for merriment. Soon up aloft the silver snarling trumpet, and the music started playing. Music started playing before the guests could arrive. And all the musical instruments are playing. From hurry to and fro, I told you the full stop is very eloquent here. The chapel scene is over. And now we come to the hall. And we can hear the musical instruments being played. And the hall being set to receive 1,000 guests. Look at this hyperbolic statement. Now, maybe it may not hold 1,000 guests, but at least poet tells us that it is so huge, so big, that 1,000 people can be accommodated in that chamber, in that hall. So we're going to receive 1,000 guests. And what is happening? You pay attention here, what I'm going to say. The carved angels, ever eager-eyed, stared upon where their heads the cornice rests, with hair blown back and wings put crosswise on their breast. Look at the picturesqueness of the carved angels. There in the chapel, there were the sculptures of knights and ladies. Why? They are waiting for their emancipation. They are waiting for their soul's liberation or salvation. Here, what is happening is the carved angels are there in this hall, already emancipated. And they have the expression of ever eager-eyed. The expression is because they are sculptures. Whatever expression they carry in their eyes, that is permanent. Very eagerly they are from the wall, they are trying to watch what is going to happen in the hall, what will take place in the hall. Stared where upon their heads the cornice rests. On the corner they are resting on a small railing, and they are trying to watch the activities of the hall. Their hair blown back. I always used to ask the students why their hair is blown back and why their wings are put crosswise on their breasts. They are not flying just now, but they can fly. The angels can fly. So their hair is blown back because that shows they have flown and they have come there, as if they have reached there. And they have put their wings crosswise on their breast, and they are as if they too are waiting for the guests to come. So these descriptions and these pictures you need to keep in your mind and look at this. And I have already told you, and I repeat again, that sensuousness operates in this poem. Your senses are operating. Sometime your eyes, some previous stanza, sense of hearing. You could hear some music in your ear. Through your ears, there was a lot of music you could hear. Now, again, there are pictures before your eyes of the carved angels. So, in this particular stanza, few lines, your sense of hearing, and few lines, sense of sight. If you get a question on sensuousness, Keats says sensuousness. In the Eve of St. Agnes, you are supposed to quote these lines and show which lines tell you that sense of sight is operating, sense of hearing, sense of touch, sense of smell. All that you need to remember. Sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of touch, sense of smell, and sense of taste. You will find mouth-watering dishes little later. Sumptuous, and your mouth will start watering, the way Keats will describe. Gradually, when we will move to the stanzas, we will see. So now, yes, some student, I think maybe my student is writing in Madeline's room when we'll go. Anyway, so the carved angels are with their blown back hair, because they can fly, they are angels. So their hair is blown back, and they have as if they have flown and come in the hall to see what is going to happen, and they have put their wings crosswise. Let's come to stanza number 5. At length, burst, you know, the quiet hall will all of a sudden will be full of sounds here. Again, sense of hearing. At length, burst in the argent revelry, with plume, chira, and all rich array, numerous as shadows haunting fairly. The brain new stuffed in youth with triumphs gay of old romance. Full stop. These let us wish away and turn soul thoughted to one lady there, whose heart had brooded all that wintry day on love, and winged St. Agnes's saintly care, as she had heard old dames full many times. This stanza is going to introduce you not only the heroine of the poem, the main superstition of the poem, the main theme of the poem. So when the ever eager-eyed angels were waiting waiting in the hall to see what next is going to happen, all of a sudden we noticed that the crowd of people have started coming in the hall. Richly, they are attired. Their dress is beautiful, with plume, tiara, their ornaments, jewelry is beautiful, in all rich array, numerous as shadows, haunting fairly. The brain new stuffed in youth with triumphs gay of old romance. All these characters, as if it appears, whatever story the youth has kept in the mind of the old romances, it appeared as if those characters have started coming one by one. It is medieval theme, medieval setup, Middle Ages characters. So the audience is being imagined of Romantic age, and the characters are of Middle Ages. As when we watch the serial Ramayana or Mahabharata on TV, we notice the characters, when they come on the screen, we have noticed when God Ram comes, or Sita comes, or Hanuman comes, or for that matter in other such serials, you notice they are wearing the attire, costume of that period. Similarly, here all the guests have come with heavily dressed. Heavily, they have got the jewelry, ornaments, and all of them they enter. And the romantic stories which the youth have heard, it also appears as if these guests also have, their brain is fully stuffed with their old romances also. And they all have come, they are going to meet and talk and chat and enjoy on this particular day. With triumphs gay of old romance, their own old romantic story, their victories which they have won in the wars, etc., they are they're bubbling with the, experiences and ideas, and all the guests are chirping and they're entering. The poet says, forget about them. These let us wish away, let us forget about these and come to one lady there, whose heart has brooded whole day that night. She has brooded on that wintry day on love and St. Agnes's saintly care. Only two things she has thought of, nothing else. Because she had heard the old ladies tell her that if the rituals are done, please don't unmute yourself. Don't unmute. So they have heard the story of St. Agnes's day. They know the ritual. The old ladies have told her if that ritual is done properly, is definitely going to have the glimpse of the future husband. So she's not bothered. Madeline is there in the hall. She's there, yet she is not there. Her heart is only thinking about St. Agnes's divine saintly care, and she's only thinking of Porphyro's love, nothing else. Because she is the hostess, she has to be there, she has to host the feast, so she is there physically, but mentally she is not. Now, this stanza tells you the story which I have already told you. I'll go in little detail and let you know what we get in this stanza. They told her, who is this pronoun they? This pronoun they stands for those old dames, old ladies. This poem, when you read yourself also, you will realize that the connectivity is superb in the poem. Nowhere you will find the poet has forgotten what he's talking about. They told her how upon St. Agnes's Eve, young virgins might have visions of delight, and soft adorning from their love receive upon the honeyed middle of the night, if ceremonies due they did aright, as supperless to bed they must retire, and couch supine their beauties lily white, nor look behind, nor sideways, but require of heaven with upward eyes for what all that they desire. Whatever the young virgin girls desire on that night, if they desire the dream of their future husband, then they should be supperless. They should fast on that day. And they should retire to bed supperless, without food. And couch and lie down on their bed supine. On their back flat they should lie. And they should show their lily white beauty. Lily, again this color, this white color tells you of the divinity, of the spirituality, reminds you of the day. They should show their beauty. And and then another condition is cannot look behind, cannot look sideways. ना पीछे देखना है, ना अगल बगल देखना है. Only look upwards towards the heaven. And if this is done properly, then on that honeyed night, that sweet night, the sweet dream will come of the future husband. And we'll get the soft praises of the husband in the ears in the dream. The husband will come in the dream and praise. The future husband is not yet husband, going to be the husband. Will come in the dream. The conditions are very important. All these rituals have to be done very carefully. And the first and foremost condition is the girl should be virgin. The virgin word has been repeated again and again. And remember, St. Agnes also had met martyrdom. She was a Roman virgin woman. So virginity is the condition of this fasting. And Madeline is performing these rituals today. Whole day she has fasted. Now we come to the 7th stanza. Here actually the poet tells you about the ritual. Mainly the focus is on the ritual. You get the way the ritual is to be performed. What are the rites on that day? Full of this whim was thoughtful Madeline, the music yearning like a god in pain. She scarcely heard. Her maiden eyes divine, fixed on the floor, saw many a sweeping train pass by. She heeded not at all, in vain came many a tiptoe. Amorous cavalier and back retired, not cooled by high disdain, but she saw not. Her heart was otherwhere, she sighed for Agnes's dream, the sweetest of the year. Madeline is not interested in the activities of that hall. Many young men, they are trying their luck with Madeline. They are trying to come close to Madeline. They want to be at least looked once by Madeline. Madeline is so beautiful, so charming. They want that Madeline should reciprocate their love. But Madeline is not interested. She is like a god in pain. Look at this image, simile. She is like a god in pain. And what is the pain? The pain is the very thought of what if the dream doesn't come true? What if Porphyro doesn't come in the dream? She has been portrayed by John Keats in such a divine way that you get a fair inkling of the fact if she will not dream of Porphyro, she will reject Porphyro. So she is very much, concerned. So the music also she is not hearing. The music appears to be like God in pain. Her maiden eyes are divine. Her divine maiden eyes are fixed on the floor. Doesn't want to look at anybody. She doesn't look at the faces of the people around. She's only looking at the floor. And when she's looking at the floor, she can see the people walking, coming close to her and going back. Because she's not responding. She's not talking to them. She's not answering. Why? Because her motto is fixed. Her desire is fixed. Her intention is fixed. What she wants the dream of, and the dream is that she should dream Porphyro and somehow get him as her future husband. The next stanza, I'll take just few minutes more and I'll conclude this. And then tomorrow, whatever is left, I'll again connect. She danced along with vague, regardless eyes. Anxious her lips, her breathing quick and short. The hallowed hour was near at hand, she sighs. Amid the timbrel and the thronged resort of whisperers in anger, in sport, amid looks of love, defiance, hate, and scorn, hoodwinked with fairy fancy all aboard, save to St. Agnes and her lamb unshorn, and all the bliss to be before tomorrow born. As I told you, you get the same theme running in this stanza. She is dancing there physically, but she is not interested, not at all interested in the people around. That is why she is only focusing on the midnight, because she wants to have the dream, and because the hour is coming closer. The hour of retiring to bed is coming closer, and her heart is throbbing. Because tomorrow morning she will be the most blissful person on the earth, because at night she will already dream of Porphyro, and she is only thinking of St. Agnes's and nothing else. She is thinking of those pious lambs which will be unshorn, which will be shaved, because that is the holy ritual done before St. Agnes. So she only thinks about the divinity, spirituality, holiness, piousness, sacredness, and nothing worldly can disturb her. So this is what we get up to stanza number 8. Before I close, let me tell you that tomorrow from stanza number 9, I will continue, and tomorrow I will try my level best to save 10 minutes time for you to share your observation, your questions, and also your reaction, and I can cross-question you and see what you have understood. Thank you very much. God bless you, and take care of yourself in this Corona time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Sanket, my dear student. I'm proud to have you as my student. I thank Head of the Department, Dr. Professor A.K. Bachchan, and LNMU English Department to give me the opportunity to interact with the students. Thank you. So, my dear students, see you all tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Have a nice day.